we're going to learn how to make these Sgraffito tiles. It's a new technique, and it's a little bit different than the pinch pots. And the supplies that we need, let's go over that really quick. Obviously, you're going to need clay. You need your 2 canvas mats. I've got both of them right here. You need something to elevate the clay for a specific thickness of the tile. You can see how these guys have a thickness to them. We'll go over that in a minute. I've got some stir sticks right here. I also have 2 DVD covers, which is going to work really great. You need something to roll with. If you've got a rolling pin, that's great. I'm going to try to use things that I think that you might have access to. So if you don't have access to a rolling pin, you know what? I'm going to use my water bottle. So I'll take my straw out, even though I still have my water in there. I'm going to put my lid on, and this is going to give me my rolling surface. Okay, so I've got that. You need clay, and for later on when we do the Sgraffito, you're going to need the opposing slip for that. So I'm going to use the white clay, and I'm going to use the red slip, and you'll need a Sgraffito tool. And you might have gotten a homemade tool, or you might have one of these manufactured tools. Oh, and the paintbrush to paint the slip on. We'll start off with just rolling out the tile. These are some end results from last semester. They're beautiful pieces, fired and glazed. All right, so I'm going to start off. I've got my canvas right here, and the texture, you can see one side is textured, one side is not. Put the textured side towards the clay. So this bottom piece, the textured side is up. I have got a good chunk of clay that fits in my hands. If I put my hands together, it's quite large for fitting inside my hands like this. I would say a softball-sized piece of clay. Mush that all together, and then I'm just going to go ahead and start pounding that sort of flat. About the thickness of my hand is what I want to start off with. Okay, place that on the textured side of the canvas. Now I need something that when I roll this out, I'm not going to end up with a paper thin piece of clay. And I want these to be, if you look at a ruler, I want them to be better than 1/4 of an inch or thicker than 1/4 of an inch. If you roll this down to just 1/4 of an inch, it's going to be too thin. It will break on you. Up to 1/2 an inch. Nothing thicker than 1/2 an inch. That's too thick. Now I'm going to show you what we normally use in the classroom. We have a paint stir stick, a big one that's thick. That's 1/4 inch. That's too thin. So I also have another one. It's a little bit thinner, and if I put these together, that gives me just a little bit under 1/2 an inch. That's a good elevation right there. But I'm not expecting that you have those, so let's put that aside. I found something you guys should have. How about a DVD cover? If I measure that, that's about 1/2 an inch. That's 1/2 an inch. All right, it's not over 1/2 an inch, so this is going to work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use these as my guides. I'm going to put I want the back side against this. Not this side over here is a little bit flexible, so I want the back side. Put that right there. Grab my water bottle. Make sure that this will touch. There we go. And roll out the clay. Pick it up because it's going to get stuck to this canvas. Oh, I forgot. I could put the canvas over the top, but it's actually not sticking. If it's sticking to what you're rolling with, then put the other piece of canvas on top when you do your rolling. But when you do that, you still have to make sure. If I rolled over here, then I'm going to have one side that's too thin. This side's going to be the thickness of the DVD case. This side's going to be paper thin. So it has to touch both of these DVDs. I might try to find something a little bit, maybe a bigger water bottle. Ah! Nope, I'm going to manage. I'll manage. Okay. So pick it up because it will stick. And if you keep rolling it while it's stuck, it's not going to work too well. I'm going to grab any tool that I've got. This chunk right here is keeping me from being able to touch my water bottle to the DVD case. There we go. Now I can get it closer. Okay, so let's roll it again. Good. Making sure that the water bottle is touching the DVD cases. All right, now I've rolled this to where it looks like it's the thickness all the way through. Be very careful when you pick it up. It's not thicker in the middle. What most people do is they'll roll out the two ends, but not the center. So it's the thickness of the DVD cases all the way through. That's going to make a nice tile. I can make it, I'm going to do one more roll just to make sure that I've got it even. Yep, that's pretty even. Now I've got to cut a square out of this. If you have the space, then cut out a 6 by 6. My water bottle is probably not going to give me 6 by 6. I'm going to have to go a little bit smaller. These tiles were all cut out at 6 inches by 6 inches, and as they go through the kiln, they shrink. So now it is down to a little under 5.5. It's 5 1/4. Okay, so they are going to shrink. I'm just going to get out of this as much as I possibly can. I'm going to put this DVD case back on here, line it up on this edge, take a needle tool. I probably didn't give you guys a needle tool, but you can use any tool that has a sharp point, paper clip, safety pin, something. So this is a needle tool, and it does have a sharp point, and so I can just slide it right here, hold down this DVD case, cut that edge off, hold it, and cut this bottom edge off. And I'm going to line this DVD case up against this bottom side. Let's see how much I can get. I'm going to have to pull it in some there. Let's see how big I can actually get this. Okay. It does have that edge off of there, and I don't like that. So I'm just going to pull this down just a bit and cut that off. So I've got nice square edges. It looks a little bit off too. If you have something at home that's square that will fit, that'll work too, but this is just giving you an idea how you can get these cut. Okay, so now I have a tile. And I think the DVD case, it did a good job. It's a little bit thick, but that's okay. It'll be a nice and stable piece. You can smooth out those edges. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add the slip on top of these. And at this point, it's okay to go ahead and add the slip. And afterwards, you're going to want to let this get what's called leather hard. If I pick this up by the edge, it warps. Okay, my clay starts to bend and reshape on me. So that's not leather hard. I've got another tile over here. All right, this right here, if I pick it up by the edge, it does not warp. I cannot reshape this, but I can still dig a fingernail in there. So this is called leather hard. This is the state that you want these tiles to be in. But for right now, the first coat that we put on, it can be kind of soft like this. You just have to be able to pick it up and cover it, put it in your box so it doesn't dry out on you. And I can do that by sliding my hand underneath the canvas, and then I can put this inside my box like that. All right, adding the slip is really simple. Make sure you pick the right color. Don't put the white slip on top of the white or gray clay, because then you don't get a contrast. We want a contrast here. Clean up these edges just a bit more, make them look nice. Okay. Make sure your paintbrush is clean. Some of your paintbrushes might have residue from other colors of clay. You want to make sure it's nice and clean. Stir up that slip. And this is very important on how you put this on. It's a really, really simple concept, but some of you will forget this, but try to remember. Okay, I've got the slip. It just looks like chocolate. All right, I get a nice heaping amount of slip on my brush. Now, I'm not going to hold the brush up and down like this. I'm going to hold it as parallel to my tile as possible. And I'm going to brush that slip on, and I'm going to brush it on. And I'm going to brush it off of the edges. Do not take your brush out here and brush like this, because you will end up with oozing amounts of slip dripping down the side of your tile. And we don't need that. We don't want it. We don't need it. It just makes a sloppy mess, and it wastes the slip. So what you do is you load the brush, hold the paintbrush parallel, you brush away from the edge, and you brush away from the edge. And you can do that and just get it nice and even. Don't brush over it too many times, because what that'll do is it'll soften the clay underneath and it'll mix the colors, and you don't want to mix the colors. You want a nice contrast. So back and forth, and probably one more swipe. Okay, I'm just going to really gently and lightly try to even some of those higher ridges out. It's okay, you're still going to see brush strokes, and that's all right. Okay, it is done for now. I have to let it sit and get leather hard before I can put the next coat on. You do not want to put a second coat on while you see any gloss, and you can definitely see that gloss shining right there. If you try to put a second coat on while you have gloss, you will wipe off the first coat, and then you'll just be reapplying another coat. That defeats the whole purpose. This has got to sit, and then we'll come back and show you what to do next.